Good morning, Springfield. Welcome to Chief Chat in November. I'm Jacob King. I'm the city fire chief, and sitting beside me is Chief Allison Elliott from Springfield PD.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, it's a wet and rainy morning, at
Yeah.
least for us today. But, you know, driving in with all this rain that's happening kind of leads right into kind of one of the topics we were going to discuss, and that was driving safety for you.
Yeah. Perfect timing. I think we even heard a rumble of thunder there. So it looks like the weather's getting pretty bad here. And it's a great opportunity for us to just have a quick reminder. I think talking about inclement weather coming and then obviously with fall, leaves on the ground. Now we're starting to see a lot of that around here. And with the potential forecast of snow coming up
Yeah.
maybe this weekend. So it's a great opportunity for us to talk about vehicle safety and driver safety. And additionally, with the time change, I think that it sometimes throws us off a little bit with daylight savings. So now you're out on your commute, it's getting darker a little bit quicker. So make sure you're paying attention and utilizing your headlights. Obviously, deer season. A
Yeah.
lot of deer are moving. We've seen a lot of deer who have that have been struck. So just pay attention. Keep your eyes open for a lot of moving parts there and the changes with the weather. So definitely a lot of things to think about. I know, Chief, you said this morning on your commute, just with the rain, there's some folks who are paying attention, slowing down, being a little more cautious, which is what we need.
Right, but I would say, right, as a safety factor, if you're going to turn your hazard lights on and drive down the road, if it's a multi-lane road, then you should probably move over to that slow lane,
Mhm.
just so other traffic may move through. But also, driving too slow could be a problem,
Can be.
right? And driving too fast is. So just keep that in mind as you're traveling the roads, whether that's snowing, raining, or just every day when the sun is shining, right?
Right.
Um, and as you point out, that the time change, right, that puts most drivers in their commute right at the time when most animal activity is happening.
Yes.
All right. And yes, the deer are in season at this point in Ohio. So we're driving home right at the time they're all running around. So
Mhm.
that's where we have those increased incidences with deer strikes.
Yeah, and even in the city of Springfield, we see a lot of deer moving.
Yeah.
There are a lot of deer around, and we've had a few deer strikes. So definitely want to make sure that we pay attention to that. With the daylight savings changes too, with the lower sun levels, it creates a washout. So you got
Yes.
to be careful and maybe think about using your visor, especially at dawn and dusk, making sure you're utilizing your visor because it can create that washout effect. And it's tough to see people, pedestrians, and animals.
Yep. Yeah. Just taking that opportunity just to slow down just a hair, give it an extra second
Right.
before you pull off of that stop sign or stoplight, just to make sure no one's standing there.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay. What else?
I think additionally, especially with colder weather approaching,
Mhm.
we've been pretty lucky. We've had a pretty warm summer and even fall. But as we start to approach and these temperatures start to drop, making sure you're checking your vehicle, tire pressure tends to go down. So checking the tire pressure. And then with inclement weather, also want to check your tread on your tires, making sure that you're paying attention if you need to replace your wiper blades, your windshield wiper blades. This is probably a good time to
Yeah,
take a
now's
look
the
at
time.
that, to do that. If you do come out Sunday or Monday, whichever day we're supposed to end up getting snow potentially, a big thing is making sure you're taking the time to either warm up your car or clear off your windshield completely. You don't want to drive.
Why?
Yeah, it's really tough. You don't want to drive with just a small little hole. I've seen
Yeah,
that maybe a time or
a
two.
lot.
But yeah, and I understand sometimes we're running late and things happen, but take a little extra time just to prepare for that. And if we do end up getting a significant amount of snow this winter, the thing to think about is not just clearing your windshield, but also clearing off your headlights and taillights,
Yeah.
because that can be difficult to see, especially when you're traveling and especially again in those morning hours or evening hours. So making sure you're clearing all of that off.
So, thinking about driving in this style of weather with rain or snow, what here you should be expanding your distance from the car you're following, but what should that look like? How much should I give myself?
Typically, we talk about 3 car lengths, giving yourself that just in general. But I definitely, it can be deceiving. The roadway can be deceiving, and people talk about black ice. That is definitely a thing. And just wet roads in general, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough extra stopping distance. Don't underestimate that when you're behind the wheel. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I would say too is great point on clearing the windshields and your back window and side windows.
Mhm.
I've definitely seen people with like this really small hole out their front windshield
Yeah.
and maybe a small sliver out there looking out their left window.
Yes.
So it's okay to take an extra minute, right, to clear that off, just because we want you to arrive, right,
Right.
late, and we don't want to meet you on the way,
Right.
right. So in the
Absolutely.
event that you get into an accident, you get to meet us,
Yeah.
right,
Definitely want to avoid that.
and then avoid that and have you get to your destination safely.
Yeah. And speaking of warming your car up, obviously coming into the colder months, we understand getting into a cold vehicle in the mornings is difficult, or
Yeah,
just in general. Just be mindful of that. Be safe about it when you're uh, warming your car up, and especially in the morning hours. People do pay attention to that. And talking about stolen vehicles,
yeah,
we have seen an increase here recently of stolen vehicles, specifically with the Kias and Hyundais. So just be aware of that and be mindful. If you have a fob and you're able to start your car up but keep your car locked, that's perfect.
yeah.
Understand that, but don't leave your vehicle unlocked, unattended, and with the keys in it by any means, because people are definitely paying attention to that, and they do take advantage of that, unfortunately. We want to make sure that we avoid all those risks.
Yeah, it's really setting up a product of opportunity. Somebody may not touch your car ever, but in the event that they're like, "Oh, well, I'm cold or I need to get here, this will be faster," and it's just too inviting. I think
It is.
definitely the remote start that allows your vehicle to be locked, and to warm up is best. But as you said, there's an uptick maybe in some of the stolen vehicles with the Hyundai's and Kias. So if you have those, just be mindful, right? Pay attention to where you're parking, and look out for your neighbor. So if people are milling around in the middle of the night, make sure you're calling Springfield PD to get out there
Absolutely.
so we can keep that from happening.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then, talking about winter and warming things up, right? That leads us right into some winter fire safety tips,
Perfect.
right? And so, one of the things that we see a lot here in the city and probably across the country as well, we're not that unique in that aspect, but a lot of people use supplemental heat. So, they use space heaters. Um, the biggest piece about space heaters is they definitely need space. So we're talking 3 feet, 36 inches away from it. And you need the ones that when they tip over, they shut off. Right. There's a lot of the older ones out there. Most of them, are probably very, very old. So if your great grandfather gave you a space heater, you probably want to switch it out.
Mhm.
But you want to make sure they have a huge electrical draw that you want to make sure you plug it directly into the wall, not an extension cord, not a surge protector, right? We want it plugged directly into the wall because they have such a strong draw of electricity. And be mindful of that it is a significant draw, that your plugs could get overheated. Check your wiring, right? Just pay attention when you have a space heater in a room that's running. You should always be in the room with the space heater. Don't turn it on and just leave it and go to work,
Mhm.
right? You want to make sure that you're still there just in case there's an actual problem,
Absolutely.
right? Along with those space heaters to actually tell us if there is a problem, is making sure that your smoke detectors are in good working order, right? So we want you to change those batteries at least twice a year. The easiest way we try and remind everyone is when we do time change. So everyone should have just recently changed their smoke detector batteries as we rolled those clocks backwards. So if you haven't yet, make sure you get out there and grab a couple of batteries and get them up and running. Um, and if you have kids, right, is actually test it. So, and you want to make sure that you're practicing your escape plans. So, if that means that you're meeting at the neighbor's house, you're going to meet across the street from your house or maybe the garage, right? Of if you have a detached garage in your backyard, whatever that is, we want to make sure that that's identified with your anyone living in the home, just so there's an accountability, so we know if somebody is still inside or not when we get on scene. So that
Yeah.
it will rapidly help us get in and get to potentially where you may be located.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I know we last month we talked about a lot about fire prevention, fire safety, and we talked about some of these things. So there's some other great tips that Chief King provided in addition to that, especially coming into the winter. If you want to go back and take a look at the October
Yep. Yep.
view, because that we were kicking off Fire Prevention Week.
Yes, ma'am.
And so all great points. So, I think about when you talk about the automatic shutoff for your space heaters
Yes.
and making sure that you have that automatic shut off safety feature there, especially if you have kids or pets that
Yeah,
can easily
definitely.
get knocked over. And we know how quickly fires can start and spread
Yes,
in
very
homes.
quickly. And that's where we look at, we want to talk about candle safety. It is the holidays. Maybe
Mhm.
switch over to those LED candles that if you're going to have them for display.
Sure.
Just because, especially if you have animals, cats are notorious, right, for knocking over candles.
Yes. Or
And
anything else.
anything else, right? So it's just knocking those candles over, catching your drapes on fire, and then it just goes from there. And so we just want you to be mindful this season of all those potentials that could start a fire. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
The other thing is, is make sure that you clear. If we do get a lot of snow, is make sure you clear a path right out your front door and back door.
Great point.
Just so if you are in the event of emergency and you're going to race out the door, the last thing you want to do is slip and fall right at the front door.
Sure.
So make sure you have a clear path just to get in and out. And so keeping that clear, especially if we have to come visit you, right, for a
Yes.
medical emergency, it's a lot easier for us to get the cot in if we have a path to get there instead of dragging a bunch of snow in their house, right?
Absolutely.
So we talked about, driving safety, the different weather types, the safety associated with even warming up your car,
Mhm.
and having space for your space heaters. Talking about candles, and we talked about clearing some access ways into your home as well as your escape plan. Right. So there's a lot of key tips there. I
Mhm.
think that people can specifically utilize and to assist, if they weren't thinking about it. Most of this, I think most people are. And so we're just kind of pick up a couple of those smaller pieces there as a
Mhm.
reminder, right? Just to try and help.
Yeah. Chief, I do have a question for you too, because I know we talk about, winter preparedness, especially for your vehicle when you're going to drive it. But are there some tips that you could provide as far as things to keep in your vehicle? For instance, like an emergency kit, like
Yeah,
a blanket, some gloves, a hat, water,
that's it.
extra items that would be good to keep in your vehicle in case you get stranded or something happens.
Yeah, I think those are all good items to have. An ice scraper, so in the
Hmm.
event you're at work and something happens, you can at least clear your windshields again.
Hmm.
The other thing I would say is jumper cables.
Yes.
Now that it's getting colder out, right? If your battery is getting close to needing replaced, you don't want to get stranded,
Mhm.
right? Because and needing a jump, most people will be around, have a car that'll
Mm.
start and give you a jump, but no one has the jumper cables. It seems like.
Sure.
So a pair of those will be very helpful to have.
Mhm.
And just make sure you have a phone charger in your car, just in the event that you do get delayed or stuck. That your battery dying on your cell phone isn't the reason you couldn't get a hold of somebody.
Right.
So yeah, definitely the blanket,
Mhm.
some water, extra winter items on there with the hat and the gloves, just in case you get stuck. I know several years ago we had a pretty large crash on I-70,
Mhm.
and people were sitting out there for 3, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm not great at always keeping my gas tank full, and so if I'm like, oh, at the next exit I'm going to get gas,
Mhm.
and now I get stuck for 3 hours, I'm not going to be able to run my vehicle that whole time.
Right.
And so it's just starting and stopping. So other avenues to make sure I can stay warm.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the frigid temperatures, you want to make sure you're being mindful of that, keeping your gas tank as full as you're able to.
Yeah.
So,
And with those temperatures, we know that the warming center is possibly going to open
yep.
this weekend.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen that or heard about it from the Nehemiah Foundation and the Salvation Army, but
Yes.
they're also looking for volunteers.
Yes.
to help work those shelters, and they have trainings, and it's easy to get in contact to sign up.
Yes. We actually have a meeting to follow up today with our team about that to assist them.
Oh,
So
awesome.
definitely a good opportunity to make sure we remind folks. And I think the city's planning on providing some additional information on the website to assist with that as far
Oh,
as the Nehemiah Foundation's shelter hours and things like that. So
oh,
pay
excellent.
attention on social media as well. I know a lot of folks are going to be sharing that information out to make sure that we reach everyone.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing, I think, ours, right, with the Nehemiah Foundation. But
Yeah.
we always try to also share from the Clark County EMA,
Yes.
the all of the warming centers that's going to be across the county
Yes.
as well, just so that everybody has some awareness and potential to help direct people if they're in need
Absolutely.
for that. And we're getting close to the holidays. Just this morning, they're setting the Christmas tree out front.
Yeah,
It's a huge operation.
it is.
And so I can't wait to next month to talk about you know, dealing with your Christmas decorations and how we can safely do those.
Absolutely.
We don't want to Clark Griswold this thing up today. Well, with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful November and Thanksgiving. And we'll be sharing on our social media some tips for this Thanksgiving cooking, right? Talking about frying those turkeys, right? And we
Yeah.
want to make sure that they are totally thawed. Otherwise, we could have a big mess on our hands.
Yes.
So
Seen some dangerous situations there.
definitely. So with that, be safe. Have a great November. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Springfield.